No, it's not going to happen.
Why?
Why? Because it will destroy God's plan. It's all about timing.
Come back to CHRISTIANA Flourishing, we will motivate you with God's word. This is an accurate prophecy by Pastor Benny Hinn and the President of Israel. This is an interview that happened years ago, and which is actually what is happening
and
now.
I'm praying today that God will bless Israel
and what the man of God, Pastor Benny Hinn, has to say concerning Iran
struggling
and
today for
Israel.
its
Please, I will leave
survival.
you all to watch the video today.
You and
Subscribe,
I
like, and
pray
share.
for Israel
Leave your comment in the
repeatedly, and
comment
I'm
section. I
asking
will
you
see you
today
in the
to
next one.
continue
God
praying
bless you.
for the people. Sitting with Bibi Netanyahu, a wonderful friend of mine, and I'm praying today that God will bless Israel mightily. This is a nation struggling today for its survival. You and I have prayed for Israel repeatedly, and I'm asking you today to continue praying for the peace of Jerusalem. But please, first, the importance, the evangelicals. Why is that?
Anniversary of the rebirth of the modern Jewish state. Now, I think that it would not have been possible to reestablish the Jewish state without the support of many Christian Zionists.
Yeah.
In the 19th century, in the 20th century, some of the great names that we know, for example, Lord Balfour, who was the secretary, the foreign secretary of Great Britain, who wrote the Balfour Declaration, which helped launch modern Zionism. He was steeped in these Christian traditions. Lloyd George, the Prime Minister of Britain, he was steeped in these traditions. Winston Churchill after them, and before them, during Queen Victoria's time. There was a great sentiment that then radiated also from Britain to the United States that said, we want to see the realization of the prophecies of old, that the Jews would gather the exiles and come back to their ancestral homeland and build their life anew. And so this was a widespread feeling in the non-Jewish world, in the Christian world, that created political support for the Jewish national movement. And so Jewish Zionism was preceded by Christian Zionism and helped make it possible. Now in the 60 years since the rise of the Jewish state, there's no question that we have tremendous friends in the world, in the Christian community, in people who see the story of Israel not merely as a democracy struggling against a sea of despotism, but also as a parable of history. Can the Jewish people do what was foretold in the Bible? Can we come back and achieve this rebirth? Can we gather the exiles and rebuild our life anew in the city of Jerusalem? And for many, this is not merely a political question, but a question of faith and destiny, our confidence in the future, our confidence that the people that have been smashed by history can come back to life. And so they see in the story of Israel not merely our story, but their story as well. And I believe that we have no better friends in the world. Do we need friends? Yes, we do. Yes. Because we are all being attacked by this great, by this ideology of hate, of militant Islam that sees Israel, the United States, as representing a hated culture that they want to eradicate with terror and jihad. And of course, Israel is on the front lines. So while we have achieved so many things, we're being attacked again and again by this force that seeks to attack also the United States and the West. And it's very important to have that support in this time of testing.
Can you tell our viewers what's happening really in Gaza ever since Israel pulled out?
Well, it had been hoped that if Israel pulls out, then theoretically the Palestinians there would say, fine, we have no more grievances with you and we'll make peace with you. The opposite has happened. Israel pulled out, the Hamas moved in, backed by Iran, and Gaza has become an Iranian base.
And you said this would happen, by the way, you know that.
Yes.
You told me that.
I think on your show.
That's right. You said this would happen.
Well, unfortunately, I was right. I wish I had been wrong, but I was right because effectively we are now seeing the tentacles, the terror tentacles of Iran trying to envelop Israel. First in Lebanon, and more so in recent days, with the creation of the Hezbollah state within a state in Lebanon. Hezbollah is a terrorist organization that has killed Americans and people of many nationalities, but has also rocketed Israel. Hezbollah is a wholly owned terrorist subsidiary of Iran. It used to be said that Hezbollah has a state within a state in Lebanon. Now we can say that Lebanon has a state within a state in Hezbollah land.
Right.
And so Iran has one tentacle in the north. The second tentacle in the south is in Gaza with the Hamas proxies. And of course we think that we have to fight and resist this, but also not, God forbid, to give them a third tentacle, a third terror base in the center of the country, in Judea, in Samaria, in the heart of Jerusalem, as some suggest. This will not bring peace close, just as the withdrawal, the unilateral withdrawals from Lebanon and from South Lebanon and from Gaza did not bring peace closer, they brought terror closer.
Well, I can tell you what, we are praying hard. This will not happen. And we're going to do everything we know how to do to stop it. Now you've got Gaza, you've got Lebanon. God forbid if something happens here. But I do want to go back to Gaza. What can Israel do now?
Well, I think it's important to change the rules. We are now engaged with Hamas in Gaza in a war of attrition. They've fired, since we left, 4,000 rockets. 4,000 rockets against us. 4,000 rockets against our cities, our towns, kibbutzim. They just killed some people the other day. 4,000 rockets, about 15, 20 times the rate that they were firing before we left. So we cannot continue like this. And what we've been responding is in a way of a strategy of attrition. They fired us, we respond to them. They fired us,
how long?
We respond to them. This will not do the job. You have to establish, change rules. And to change the rules means you have to respond much more powerfully against the Hamas regime. Ultimately, we will have to bring down this regime. We cannot afford an Iranian terror base right at near the center of the country. President Mubarak of Egypt said a few weeks ago in a conversation with a Western diplomat, he said, Egypt today has a common border with Iran. He meant Gaza. Now, Egypt is several hundred kilometers away, its main population centers from Gaza. For Israel, we touch them. We touch them. We're literally adjacent to it. So I believe we will have no alternative, but eventually to bring down this Hamas regime, not only to ensure our security, but also to give peace any real chance.
And Hezbollah, what can you do about Hezbollah? They're building up in Lebanon.
That's correct.
Nearly in control now.
This is correct. In the case of Hezbollah, we have a complete violation of the Security Council resolution, which was drafted with such fanfare at the end of the Second Lebanon War. It said that Hezbollah will not be allowed to rearm. There'll be an international force there that will prevent it from doing so. Hezbollah now has 3 times the armaments and the rockets that it had before the Second Lebanon War, and much more deadlier rockets too. So obviously this is a very explosive situation.
Now, do you see another war?
Well, I hope not, because Hezbollah should realize that Israel too has learned the lessons, and that the Israeli response will be far different and more effective this time. I hope they won't put us to the test. But in many ways, that decision will be made not in Lebanon and not by Hezbollah. It will be made in Tehran.
Yeah.
Because Hezbollah is the terror arm of Iran.
Israel is being pressured now to give up more territory. And of course, we as Bible-believing Christians are screaming no. But what will Israel do? I mean, you've got a prime minister now who's really for it. You've got forces pushing. What can you, and I'm talking about Bibi, I'm talking about people that believe the way we do. What can you do to stop it?
I think in practice, there's been a shift in Israeli sentiments. When Israel pulled out of Gaza unilaterally, the majority of the public was for it. But what people have learned since is that in order to make peace, you need a peace partner.
Now, let's watch the
Iran
prophecy from the man of the Pastor Benny Hinn to Iran
program.
and Israel.
They
Subscribe, like, and share, and we'll see you in our
technology
next upload. Thank
that
you.
can give Iran now is accelerating its nuclear program. They are using new technology that can give them a nuclear bomb very quickly. And if that happens, saints, and the world is trying to stop them, but if that happens, the picture will change very dangerously for the whole world. And then there will be a war between Israel and Iran, because they will have to stop them. The Israelis have the Masada mentality. Back 2,000 years ago, when the Romans attacked Masada, where the Jews were hiding in Masada, they committed suicide rather than become enslaved to Roman authorities. So today, when anyone, any soldier in the army, before they begin service, they go to Masada and say, never again. They make a vow, never again. And the Holocaust, because of the Holocaust, Israel will not allow the Jewish people again to go through another Holocaust. So you got two things that is in the psyche of every Israeli. Masada, 2,000 years ago, the Holocaust. And these things is what almost caused a nuclear war in 1973, when Golda Meir almost pushed the nuclear button, and a nuclear war could have happened in 1973 during the October War, when the Egyptians and Syrians attacked Israel, and Israel failed in their intelligence, in their ability to see that there's war coming. They only found, literally found out only hours before the war began. So they were unprepared. And so that had said at the time they lost their balance. Well, losing your balance is extremely dangerous. And they were losing planes because of the SAM missiles that were shot against the Israeli Air Force in the Sinai. And it was Nixon that saved them. Richard Nixon, absolutely, that sent weaponry to Israel to save Israel. And Golda basically was saying, if you don't help me, I'm going to push the button. There's a whole program on it called Golda's Balcony. You need to see it. Golda's Balcony. It was a very, very riveting program that shows you really what happened in 1973. Well, now Israel is facing a more dangerous enemy than the Egyptians and the Syrians. Them and Egypt now have peace. There's no peace with Syria, of course, and Israel, but there's peace between the Egyptians, and now they're actually working together. Imagine that. So if things don't calm down with Iran, and the Western powers and Europe and the US and so on will not be able to come to an agreement with Iran, there will be war. Now, where does this put prophecy? Well, we know the Lord said when you see these things, remember that the Lord said there will be such restlessness, nation rising against nation, and so forth, a time of perplexity, their hearts feeling for fear. It's happening right now. I know you know it, but now it's going to accelerate. And all I'm praying for is extra time, that God would be gracious to us to extend that time of peace, that we can get the job done, the gospel out. People today are frightened. There's a lot happening in our country, in America, where we need time now to reawaken our young people to the gospel. Many are leaving the faith, many are leaving the church. And you know, when you look at prophecy and you look at current events, you have to kind of realize God will have his way, but it's all about timing. It's all about timing. And we, the church, have been given the authority in prayer to pray that the right timing will happen. Not the enemy's timing, God's timing. You see, Satan would want nothing. Think about this. What he really wants is that prophecy be fulfilled before its time. No, it's not going to happen.
Why?
Why? Because it will destroy God's plan. It's all about timing. When